Hello and welcome to Mediumship Matters with me, Hannah McIntyre. How are you doing? I am just back from Texas, and actually, in honesty, I've been back 5 days or something. But it, I'm getting older. I can't bounce back from jet lag the way that I used to be able to. I have spent a good 3 days, maybe four, feeling like death warmed up. Um, and I'm nearly there now. This might be incoherent, this podcast today, because I'm not 100% fully sure that I'm back, but a wonderful time had, and it was such a honor to work with these amazing students. It was so incredible to me. Shout out to the girls from Austin who traveled for hours to come and see me demonstrate. It was lots of fun and very amazing and very shifting for me in my energy yet again. I have come back a different person. There's so many versions of Hannah out there in different timelines, and we do these things, and then you find out that you are changed and different. And I'm really grateful to Jennifer for having me out there again, and for the students, ones who I worked with last year and ones who joined this year. Just a fantastic group of people who really wanted to learn. And it was really lovely for me because I don't know if I've told you guys this, but I met Jennifer when I was having a really difficult time in a learning group I was in, when another student who had been quite difficult to me, I know I've told you about her, and Jennifer was like a lifeboat, life buoy, rubber ring. It was like I was drowning, and she made me feel safe. And I am forever and eternally grateful for that. And isn't it really a wonderful full circle moment that now I get to go and meet her students and teach them? What an incredible thing, that we get to work together and give students what we were looking for when we were learning, because there's no doubt that we didn't get what we needed or wanted. So yeah, very exciting, very, very wonderful, but also squeaky at times. And the reason why it was squeaky is because Jennifer and I, quite rightly, have very different approaches to some aspects of mediumship. And that's kind of what I wanted to start off by talking to you guys about today, that it's okay to disagree. It's okay to, in fact, if I'm honest, I loved it. I loved that we didn't agree on everything. It was so much better for my development and my unfoldment to have debates with somebody who was very confident in their opinion that was different to my opinion. I loved it. I used to be a big debater. You have to be very careful how you phrase that. I've always loved it. When I used to study English literature, I had a friend, Anthony, who actually is now in spirit, and he and I used to debate for hours in the pub about the finer points of Hamlet. And it was always one of my favourite things. And it was so, so refreshing to just agree to disagree, because neither of us budged in our opinion, but to not feel comfortable and to work through it and to second guess yourself and feel into it and feel if what you're saying still feels right and why it feels right and why it's important to you, and be in that space. And I know that a couple of times I dropped Hannah clangers, and the students sort of went, Jennifer doesn't agree with that, or Jennifer doesn't say that, and or that's different to what Jennifer's taught us. And that was hard, because I kept thinking, am I letting her down? Am I undermining her? And then I thought, I sat with it. I spoke to Spirit about it when I was awake at 5 a.m. because I was on UK time. And Spirit assured me that it was important. It was important that we disagreed sometimes, and it was important that we had different opinions on things. And that is important for you guys too. You don't have to agree with everything that I say in this podcast. You don't have to agree with everything your teachers say to you. There's a huge amount of sort of collective misinformation and collective lack of evolution in spiritual teaching. And it stands to reason that those of us that are trying to get more from our mediumship than we currently are going to be right in the thick of things. Because this is the thing, isn't it? You can only perceive and receive through what you are able to perceive and receive. That is why I know you've heard me say this before. I'm so sorry, but I'm going to say it again. That is why on this podcast, I've kept old episodes up that I no longer resonate with. I mean, I've just gone through my book and corrected the grammatical errors that I thought that the person I paid to publish it was going to help with, but they just did nothing. Lessons learned. Anyway, I've just gone through and corrected all the grammatical errors because it was winding me up that they were on it. And as I was going through, I could see some parts in my book that was only published 10 months ago that no longer resonate with me. And so even though I'm writing my second book, I'm in a space where I'm not sure whether I should update my first book or continue with my second book yet. So things change, opinions shift, because Spirit aren't talking to us with direct voice, are they? They're talking to us through our own filters, through our own understandings. And if we're not open or questioning, then we are limited. And I wonder where I am limited, because I'm sure that I am. Because we all are. We can't escape our humanness. We can't change it. And so some very interesting conversations and really wonderful for me, because I like to be triggered. I like to be frustrated. I like the space of, I don't know the answer 100%, but this is what I believe right now. That's very comfortable for me. Fun. I want to have my opinion changed. A lot of people don't, do they? I'm laughing because looking into that thing again about gifts and how I don't believe mediumship is a gift, I do believe there are certain aspects of my personality that are, for want of a better expression, a gift. I will say handpicked by my soul for this path, which could also apply to many paths, which are things like, I like to be wrong. I like to have my opinion changed. I love mediumship because it's always shifting and growing and unfolding and different. That's what makes it fascinating. I don't want to know the final answer. I just want to follow the breadcrumbs as we go. And then, of course, the fact that I'm dedicated. I'm just going to say that because that came up. One of the students asked me a question about, how do you balance it? And I don't think I gave them the answer they were looking for, because in honesty, you have to really want it to spiritually develop. You have to really prioritize it. There are so many good mediums and good students that we have lost because they can't prioritize it or won't prioritize it, because there's this feeling like spirit need to do it for them. And it always saddens me. But I also think we need to talk about it. If you have that sort of idea that spirit are going to clear the path and make it easy, then you're going to be disappointed. And so it's important for you guys to know that I chose it. And it was important for that student to know that I don't accept any excuse. If you really want, don't say I want to be a medium and then wonder why you're not developing when you're not turning up to lessons. Simple as that, when you're not booking in practice sittings. Anyway, that was something Jennifer and I didn't disagree on. But it is fascinating. I love it. I love it. I really, really do. And it asks a lot of a student, I think, to try two very different approaches to mediumship. But I think that's what all of you in your development should be doing. You should be doing the way you've been taught and then trying new ways to see what the difference is, because that's the only way you're going to find out how your mediumship works best for you, is by trying different ways that will feel unnatural at first and clunky and difficult, but might actually be the key to your ultimate success. And that's hard. It was really hard for me when I'd left the very standardized teaching that I'd had. And I knew that my nights were not quite how I wanted them to be, but I was so indoctrinated with this is how a demonstration should be, this is how it should look, that it was hard for me to step away from that. Yeah. So I know you all want to know, don't you, what we were disagreeing on. So I'll give you a couple of examples just because it's fun. One of the things for me is I think that how somebody died is a really important bit of evidence, and Jennifer doesn't. I think it really helps with finding the right recipient in an audience. Jennifer doesn't. She thinks other evidence is better. So we had a little bit of a discussion about the finer points of that. I loved it. Oh my God. So that was interesting. And we couldn't find an agreement. We both just had to agree to disagree on that. I think it's one of those bits of evidence that an audience member is expecting. And so it just helps them with placing it mentally. Jennifer thinks that other evidence is better. Jennifer's approach is get 3 bits of evidence through, and they will be the 3 most important bits of evidence, and they should all have a story attached. Mine is bang out as much evidence as you can, as quickly as you can, till you find your recipient. And then once you've found your recipient and you've got the Holy Trinity of spirit, sitter, and you all connected energetically, and you know you're with the right person, that is when you unfold the story. So again, very different approaches. Both work. I mean, our dem was really good. Both of us working differently and having different approaches. So neither of us is wrong. That's the thing. We're only able to teach through what is right to us, what resonates with us, what works with us. And I love that, because Jennifer's mediumship was epic. It was so great to watch. I loved it. I really did. I was sitting there nodding my head like, yeah, yeah. In fact, at one point I made a or because it was so good. It was so good. I couldn't hold the noise in. I loved it. But mine was good too. We just have different approaches. So that was a really fascinating one. Jennifer believes that sometimes spirits will bring through evidence of somebody who is here. So it will be like the spirit is presenting as somebody they want to talk about who's still here. I believe that they will talk about people who are still here, but only once they've proven who they are. So that was a big one that we disagreed on. So there's some examples for you. Works for both of us. It's fascinating. It's really different approaches to teaching, which was really fun. I am one of those, I am like Batman's dad. Why do we fall? So we can learn to pick ourselves up. I will, if you're demonstrating and I am your teacher, I will let you demonstrate and work through things, and I will not get involved unless you're really struggling or you ask me to. But apart from that, I will not speak during your session. I will not interrupt your flow. I will not get involved. Jennifer is in there with her students all the way through their readings. And so it was really different. And she kept laughing at me because I was just sitting there really silently writing notes. And she kept going, and we need to do that, and talking and really getting involved. And I'm just sitting there silently, stalwart. And maybe her students thought, wow, Hannah is not a great teacher. Just a very different approach. I don't want to get in the way. I don't want to mess up something when you're moving towards it and making it happen. So, yeah, really different. And I loved it. I loved watching her students learn from her and being a part of it and being in the energy of it. And it's really inspired me, which I really needed. I really needed to see some good mediumship. I'm so grateful to Jennifer for that. I really needed to remember what it was all about. And I'll explain more about why in a moment. But it inspired me so much that I have come back, and I'm just in talks with the hotel that I like to use in Dover for a 3-day mediumship intensive in September 2025. So if you're interested, I think it's going to be weekend of the 20th of September 2025. You can sign up. No money, so I haven't got full details yet, but you can register your interest to be first in the know when spaces open at mediumshipmatters.co.uk. But that is going to be like Elevate online course that I do every January. But it's going to be in person, and inspired by Jennifer and her teaching, I'm going to get a real audience together for the students to demonstrate to, so they can earn their stripes and have that experience. So I'm so inspired. And I have to say, before I went, I was feeling pretty disillusioned by it all. So, as we know, Arthur Findlay College has been going through some big changes. And as we know, the Spiritualist National Union are the keepers, the owners, I don't know what you call it, of Arthur Findlay College. Now, I'm on the fence about the SNU as a whole. I personally do not like religions. Religions cause nothing but problems. My mum suggested to me that I watch The Crucible. I finished The Crucible today. I know it's old, but I'd never watched it. Geez, that was depressing. I mean, Daniel Day-Lewis is beautiful to look at, but God almighty. But, just religion, people in power, people loving their power. I don't... I know there are good people out there because of their faith. But by gum, do the others ruin it? Anyway, I mean, there's people dying right now in the world over religion. People are killing. Someone is ending somebody else's life right now because their God is better than someone else's God. Just nuts. So I can't come to things from an unbiased perspective. But what I will say is I love faith. I have always loved faith, and I believe in being respectful to other people's religions. When Arthur Findlay and his wife, whose name isn't on the college but was also part of it, bequeathed that college, that building, to the development of mediums, they bequeathed it to the Spiritualists National Union. They did not bequeath it to spirituality. They bequeathed it to spiritualism, the religion. And I just feel like that really needs to be said, because I do not go into somebody else's place of worship and talk about how I don't agree with the rules of their religion. That is very disrespectful, in my opinion. If I am in a Greek Orthodox church, my knees are covered, my shoulders are covered, I am respectful of their rules. You will never catch me consciously. I might do it inadvertently if I don't know a rule. I'm not perfect, but you will never catch me disrespecting someone's religion. And I think we need to be really careful in this debate about what's happening with spirituality and the Arthur Findlay College and the Spiritualist National Union, that we don't decide that part of the problem is that the college is run as a religious organisation, because that's what it was left as. You don't walk into a Catholic church and say, you guys shouldn't have this as a religious organisation. So just want to throw that out there. I don't know why, but I really do. So I got an email from somebody after my Mistakes podcast. Oh my, I mean, I'm just so naive, guys, right? So when you go to Arthur Findlay College, Gordon Higginson is like Jesus in a C of E church. He's everywhere, bearing down at you. You work in a room and he's there smiling benignly, looking down at you, and you look up at him, the Lord and Master. You hear everybody talking about his amazing and incredible mediumship. And I will say, and this is where I think the interesting thing about Arthur Findlay College is it's cult-like. You're not allowed to say that you had a bad experience there. People email me and tell me they had bad experiences there, but they ask to remain anonymous. They ask that their stories aren't told. They just want me to know, because it's like we're in recovery from some sort of cult where everybody tells you this is where you need to go, and you go there and then you have appalling, humiliating teaching like I had. And then you come away and you have to say, oh, it was brilliant. It was brilliant. And I find that problematical. I have a thing inside of me where I am incredibly good at hiding my nerves. Somebody once said to me, oh, it's all right for you, you don't get nervous. And I was like, what? Because I'm so good at hiding it. In fact, I'm so good at masking it that I actually appear more confident when I'm more nervous, weirdly. If you're like me, that will make sense to you. You kind of double down. You come out with double the bravado so nobody will ever know. And when I was at that college, I probably told you about this because it's one of my little weepy traumas I'm always going on about, but I turned to a teacher for help, and in front of a class full of students, they said to me, you're not as good as you think you are. And I didn't feel good. I was looking for validation. I felt lost and alone. So, and obviously you can't tar an entire institution with a few bad eggs, but there are some problematical things that I don't personally think should be going on. But that's like any religion, is it not? Which leads me back to Gordon Higginson. I was told when I was there that he was the pinnacle of spiritualism, an amazing light worker. And he may well have been. But I received an email from somebody whose name I will not read out, with some reports of Gordon Higginson faking his evidence. Now, he's not here anymore to speak for himself. And he did, while he was here, strongly deny these claims. So I'm not going to get into it. But I will say this. All you have to do is Google him and look at his Wikipedia to see the physical mediumship. Yes, we're back to physical mediumship. That is just obviously a pile of shit. I mean, it's obvious. And I am culpable in this because I never questioned a thing. When they told me that he was the best medium that ever lived, and maybe he still was. Who knows? I never once Googled and checked. I just believed it. His picture was on the wall at the foremost College of Psychic Studies. It was, yeah, you don't go into a church and argue about Jesus. I just believed. And so when I looked at those pictures, I felt betrayed, to be honest, and very naive and very silly and very stupid. Like, how could I not? Why do you have to look at just don't have heroes in mediumship, guys, because every time I do, they are pulled off a pedestal, and it's just heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. All this time, I've been holding myself to, well, Gordon Higginson could get names and addresses. Why can't I get names and addresses? What's wrong with me? Only to find out that he insisted on taking the post. And maybe he innocently insisted on taking the post. I don't know. But when the people were bringing it to the attention and saying, hang on, we think there's something going on here, which is the reports I've been sent, that was one of the things that they said. Which leads me to a bigger question here, which is probably not one you can answer, because one of the things I find fascinating about the Bible is that it was written hundreds of years after Jesus's death. Like, you're quoting him in a game of Chinese whispers. But and I actually feel like that about the spiritualist movement. And this is why I couldn't do what was needed to teach there, because Hydesville Day, the start of modern spiritualism, with the Hydesville wrappings, you can look it up, and the Fox sisters. The thing that started all of this was physical mediumship, which was a spirit in a house that these girls said was communicating with them. And then these girls ended up saying, when it all got totally out of hand, it was fraud. And then they retracted their statement that it was fraud. And then they died horrible, alcoholic, penniless deaths, from what I recall. And I've always found that really funny that we celebrate that as the day, that spiritualists have that as their day. And the only reason I remember it's 31st of March is my daughter's birthday. And I just find it so they said it was real, then they said it was fraud, then they retracted again when they were, shunned, and went back and said it was real. And we've chosen to celebrate that. Like, has there been no great mediumship since then that we could celebrate? Could we not celebrate one of Gordon Smith's stems, because he's phenomenal? Do we have to support something that has a shadow over it? And now I look at Gordon Higginson's pictures. I mean, you just go on Wikipedia, guys. There's the stuff about the fraud on there, and he is clearly vomiting a muslin cloth / bandage / something. Does ectoplasm really exist? And if it does, why does it have to be in the dark? I'm not starting on this again. I know I've said it all before, but and if he was a really great medium, which he may well have been, and I kind of still hope that he is. This is a bit like me finding out about Father Christmas and then sobbing my eyes out when I watch Elf every year, because I want to believe. If he was a really great medium, how can you connect to spirit and be in the presence of spirit and feel that love and intelligence of spirit and then fake physical mediumship? To me, you cannot be both things. But I think this is my naivety. I think there's a lot of people out there over-egging, overselling. I don't know. How did we end up here? Wasn't the evidence enough? Weren't the names and addresses enough? Why do we need to be faking physical mediumship? So I was feeling all of those feelings, which I'm still feeling, but at least now I have seen Jennifer's Jennifer Fazio's amazing mediumship, and I have seen her students' amazing mediumship. And I have that. And that came at, as always, all these things do at just the right time for me. And I've got my students will be working for me on Monday night. I mean, I'm working with them tomorrow night, but Monday night is when they get to Dem and get feedback on the gateway, and that will keep me going. But it is hard, guys. It's hard to hold your faith when everything that faith seems to be built on is crumbling and has crumbled. You know, the teachers that I so adored, that I wanted to like me, that I wanted to accept me, for the most part, not all of them, but treated me very badly. And gave very poor teaching that hindered, not helped. And then none of them are demonstrating. You can't watch any of them bloody actually do the work, which is nuts to me. Why would you have a teacher who isn't doing the work? And then the whole college is whatever's happening with the college, and maybe it will come back and fight back. But do we want to be taught by a religion and the rules of a religion? And that is a choice you have to make. I mean, I did, because I loved the building and I loved meeting the other students. But it's complex, isn't it? And yeah, we have these idols, these people we put on, at the top. And then, and I know that someone could besmirch my good name at any time. I understand that, and that's why I haven't done a deep dive into everything that I was sent, because Gordon can't stand up for himself in the same way that he could if he was still alive, and he did comment on it while he was here. But I just feel like I want to implore you guys to double check everything you believe. There's so much smoke and mirrors now. Social media is smoke and mirrors. People who are teaching who aren't actually doing the work. And then, that's fascinating, like the pyramid scheme nature of mediumship. I will teach you so you can become a teacher, so you can become a teacher. Like, who wants to be taught by somebody that hasn't earned their stripes working as a medium for a few years first? And yeah, but how do you know this? How do you know? When you look at their Facebook and their websites, is it saying that they've only been a medium for 6 months and they're going to teach you how to do it? Have they integrated, or are they just repeating someone else's lessons? And there's no static here. There is no rule, because some people are ready to teach and great teachers in that space, but it just maybe the point of this all is, I'm kind of glad that the industry is crumbling. I'm kind of glad that all of this rubbish is being brought out into the light so that we can choose. But my worry is that we are going to choose badly. And yeah, so anytime you're going to be taught by anybody, Google them. Please. Google their name and fraud. And I'm sure at some point very soon there'll be some stuff next to me, because there's some stuff next to teachers that I do respect. But I think when there is big, there are people teaching mediumship who have done some serious amounts of fraud, been to prison for fraud, stuff that I like that makes me really, really uncomfortable, if I'm honest. And so all I can ask you to do is just check, look, think, but don't let it stop you. And if you're feeling a bit defeated with it all and a bit sad with it all, then go watch some good mediums. Go immerse yourself in the joy of it. Watch people get messages. See the difference a message makes to a sitter. Watch what good mediumship feels like and follow that. So there we go. I hope that this episode has been coherent and made sense. Who knows? I'd love your thoughts as always. And I will catch up with you guys again soon. It's incredibly busy for me at the moment. Beyond, it's just absolutely nuts. But I promise I am trying to do as many podcasts as I can. And I'm hopeful that I will have more time to chat with you again soon. Take care, everyone.